Hey guys, this is Carmen from Carmen Eagleman Fitness, and I'm just jumping on to do part two of my Kick the Sugar series. In part one, I talked about 5 reasons why you should limit your sugar intake or drastically reduce the amount of added sugar that you have in your diet, right? So today I'm going to talk about where hidden sugar lies, or different places, different foods that you might not think of, and the different names of sugar, what it's called. I don't know the exact amount of names. However, there is quite a few. I know there's at least over 16 different names for sugar. And this is one of the ways that food manufacturers are able to slap healthy labels on or trick you into thinking that there's not enough, that there's not that much sugar in the foods that they're selling, or even label sugar free, and when in actuality there is a lot of sugar in there. So just because it says sugar free, more times than not, it actually has an artificial sugar, which is not good for you in the least. So I know it sucks sometimes to have to investigate our food so much, but unfortunately that is the world that we live in right now, right? So let's go over some different names of sugar, and in my blog post I will give you a bigger list of what the sugars are, but some of them that you might see are ones that are that end in OSE, O-S-E, right? Like that's a good rule of thumb when you're out shopping and looking at the ingredients to check to see if it has sugar, like dextrose or sucralose or fructose. Other ones such as aspartame, which you will find that's kind of a highly toxic one. That's not one that you want to consume at all. And that's actually one that you find commonly in gum, right? Another one that you probably wouldn't think that has sugar in there. So aspartame, saccharin, and I could totally be butchering the way that you say that. And let's see what else. Like things such as, you have your common names like coconut sugar and brown sugar, cane sugar, high fructose corn syrup, beet sugar, and maltodextrin. There's quite a few that, and not all sugars are created equal. Your artificial ones you really want to stay away from. A lot of them are GMO or made from like corn derivatives or beets, and the top 3 crops that are GMO in our that we have are corn, soy, and beets. So unless it says non-GMO, most likely it is a GMO, and GMO is simply it's modified to either resist or produce pesticides, and so not something you want to eat, right? It's like to keep the bugs away. I think I've even read like it where when a bug bites into it, it like explodes its stomach. I don't know if that's true or not, but I definitely would stay away from GMOs. Again, not something you want to put in your stomach. Like I said, tons of different names, and that's how, again, food manufacturers are able to hide it in your foods. And it's listed in the amount, like when you look at the ingredient list, it's listed in the order of how much is in there. But if you look, sometimes like, okay, so sugar can be up at the top or kind of towards the top, but then you have all these other names. So it has all these other added sugars in it. So looking at the ingredients is super important. And some of the foods that you might not think sugars would be in are ones such as ketchup, and other condiments like barbecue sauce or salad dressings. What else? Yogurt, right? Yogurt's supposed to be a healthy food. Well, most of the yogurts that you find in grocery stores have added sugar in it, especially if it's a flavored yogurt. They add stuff to sweeten it up. Any of your dairy products that have that are low fat or reduced fat, those have a ton of added sugar in it. Why? Because fat tastes good and fat's good for you. But in the low fat fad, when that was going around, and it still is very strong, when they thought that fat was a culprit and caused heart disease and high cholesterol, food manufacturers took all of that out. Well, since fat tastes good, you have to replace it with something, and so they replaced it with chemicals and sugar so that you keep coming back, so you like it, it tastes good, and it actually tricks your body into wanting more, into craving more. So the food industry is not dumb, people. They know how to make their money, right? So it's up to us to make sure that we educate ourselves on what is in our food. What else? So things like Coke, which you know about, but even your 0-calorie, sugar-free Coke, those Monsters, the energy drinks like Red Bull and all of those, sports drinks, pre-made soups, protein bars, all of those, a lot of those have sugar in it, and they're usually under a different name, especially if it is spouting that it's sugar-free. I can guarantee you that every energy drink like those have sugar in it, and the artificial kind. And the artificial kind, the reason why they're so bad is because they're typically quite more sweeter than regular natural sugar. And so what it does is it desensitizes your taste buds. And so you have to have more sugar in order to taste the sweetness, right? Where normally, if you're not having a lot of sugar in your diet, something such as fruit, which is considered nature's candy, should be really sweet to you. So like those berries and all that stuff that can sometimes be really tart to people, is typically because your taste buds are you're desensitized to it. So you need more of it to like taste that sweetness. Where for me, I don't eat a lot. I try to limit the amount of sugar in my diet. Fruit tastes so much sweeter to me now than it did before, when I used to eat a highly processed diet and a lot of sugar in my diet, a lot of refined sugar in my diet. So yeah, so sorry, I lost my train of thought. With all of that being said, I really want to make sure that you know it is about balance, right? And it's not about being perfect. In fact, it's called imperfect progress. Don't think that wow, sometimes I know, and I'll say this again, time and time again, that when trying to navigate our health journeys when it comes to nutrition or our foods for not only us but for our kids, it can seem like a landmine, and it just seems like there's so much information out there and that it can contradict each other and what's right, what's wrong. I encourage you to do your research, but I also encourage you to have grace. Give yourself grace and know that it's not about being perfect. Nobody wants to be. I do still eat sugar. I just try to limit the amount of added sugar in my diet. And I didn't start off that way. You know what I mean? I've come, so far in my journey, and I will continue to grow. And so I just encourage you to just take that step. And as you know better, do better. It's those little things that add to staggering results, that you grow over time, and it sticks. And I'm a firm believer that if you go from A to Z, most likely you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to crash, and it's going to be like, forget it, this is too much, right? Kind of yo-yo dieting or whatever. So, I just encourage you to take it one step at a time. And as you learn stuff, implement it and take your time with it. And it will be longer lasting, and you will learn more and you will do better. I'm way better than what I was in the beginning of my journey, before I started researching. So, know better, do better is kind of my motto, right? So in the words of Dory, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. All right, guys, this is Carmen from Carmen Eagleman Fitness, and I hope that you found this informative, and some helpful tips to get out there and find those sugars that are hidden in your diet, so that you can limit them and know how much you're actually eating versus thinking that you're doing great when in fact you're eating all these things that you didn't know. So Have a great night.